Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Keren Eldad. She's the creator of Date with Enthusiasm, a method that has helped hundreds of people get married and thousands of others find their way into much better relationships and their love lives. Keren, how are you?
I'm very good, William. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. So, Keren, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like to get here today? You're
Yeah.
the creator of Date with Enthusiasm, which is a great topic we're going to talk about. So, what was that journey like for you?
Well, it was the same journey of so many people who suffer on their dating journey. And, I have to tell you, William, it's such a pleasure to get to speak about dating. I only do this once a year, right
Ah,
before Valentine's Day. I am in my day job an executive coach. I help professionals to become extraordinarily successful, or the extraordinarily successful become even more successful and happier. And
right.
I learned something really quickly in executive coaching, which is if love ain't working, ain't nothing working. And
Love
I
it.
find it
Love
very, I know.
that.
And I find it really funny that this just occurs to me in coaching, because the truth is that was my journey too. I found coaching, I found spiritual ascension, if you will,
Mhm.
through a divorce and then a series of McRomances. All of us end up on the dating hamster wheel in some way, shape, or form.
Very true.
And really beginning to examine all of those patterns in addition to my success patterns, right? And I have to tell you today that I stand 10 years later after the divorce and remarried and very, very successful in my new business. If you ask me what is the one thing that is absolutely priceless, it's Ryan. It's finding love and finding true love and finding ease in my relationship and finding a place that I can call home inside.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything that's more important to talk about and more important to break down for people so they understand what shifts happened in the from divorce through McRomances to Ryan so that they can start to do the same thing and close this gap.
Yeah, I see the dating landscape now in this day and age, what they call modern dating in 2024. And Keren, if I was their age, I don't even know if I could make it,
I know.
because of the standards from both sides. It's not only women, but also men too. I noticed the dating standards. So, and
Yes.
today's topic is obviously dating with enthusiasm and more. Where do we go from here, though? Because you have such differences in what a man sees in dating and what a woman sees in dating.
Yes.
Women are looking for that 1 to 5% man. Uh, uh, right? Women are looking for that type of man. Men are just looking for someone that could respect them and love
Mm,
them.
mm,
Is that something? Can we get back? I know
yeah.
that's a loaded question.
It's a wonderful question because I like to begin by challenging all the premises. These are very, very common things that are heard in the beginning of coaching.
Right.
And one of the main things that will come up is people's limiting beliefs. One of them, of course, is dating is not what it used to be. And
Mhm.
I want to remind people, as their elder, that in the 90s, there was a television show called Sex in the City. And if you care to go back and just watch what dating was like back then,
Yeah.
it was already pretty tough. It was already pretty fraught. It was already pretty difficult in the dynamics. And I don't know that it's completely changed today. In other words, I don't think that the game is rigged against people. I'm not quite convinced of that. The second thing that I want to say, and by the way, more importantly, you shouldn't be convinced that it's rigged because otherwise you are not going to break through in love. The
Right.
second thing that is really important is there are many ways in which dating has improved tremendously since the 90s, which is when I started to date. I was a little kid back then, I was a teenager, but technically that was the environment I started to get into. When I got divorced, it's already the 2010s, right?
Yeah.
And in the 2010s, and a magnificent thing happened, and that's the dating apps. And again, here I'd like to question the premise. Are they really making things worse? I don't think so. I think they're making things much, much simpler and much easier for a lot of people. What really makes the difference, again, is the consciousness you are bringing to the process, the belief system you're bringing to to the process, and how you're choosing to use them. Lastly, I coach 50% men, 50% women. I
Right.
love both. I think we're all fantastic people. And I beg to differ. I think most people are very nuanced in what they're looking for, and they're much more about looking for love. Once you really understand that you're looking for love, you have to understand you're also looking for unconditional love. This means those conditions must drop. All of them must drop. You might think, well, Keren, it's a basic necessity that I be respected. Well, that depends on what you think of what respected means. If
Right.
somebody absolutely adores you, they absolutely adore you, and they can beg to differ respectfully in many cases. And if a woman is looking for a top 1 to 5% man, I got to stop you right there. That I used to make checklists, and that's how I ended up with my first husband, who hit all of those checks and unfortunately was also abusive. So if you
Mm,
really, really want love, you have to look for love, loving, generosity, sweetness. None of that nonsense matters. So
right.
these are parts of the things that we really work through in coaching that hopefully get you to a state of mind that is truly open to love, not to be taken care of or to somehow be safe. Those are not real terms in love. I hope that already
No,
started an exciting conversation.
no, no, definitely. Now I do have to push back against you, Keren, a little bit about the dating apps.
Of course.
I am more of a people person, so I like going to events, whether it's a
Yeah.
business event or a
Yeah.
singles event. I don't mind doing that because I'm there to meet someone. To me, the dating apps, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
So I definitely want you to, counterpoint because I think you
No, I
will.
mean, my only counterpoint is pretty simple, and it's not that they are good for everyone. And I also think that for people who truly abhor them, you are much better off just getting yourself in the right mindset, and he will crash through your door or she will crash through your door. Particularly for those who, William, like you and me, have been blessed with an extroverted behavioral style. We
Right,
definitely like to get out there. We're going to say yes to blind dates. We're differently wired. But
right.
for some people, these are extraordinary tools. It's exactly the same thing I like to say
Fair
with
enough.
Scott Galloway's point about most men being adrift because of social media and video games. Technically, social media can be a very isolating tool, but for people like
Mm,
me, they can also be social tools. So it really depends on the consciousness what you're using them for. I use social media to post to my audience really inspiring messages. I DM with people that I love and care about and answer questions. And
mm.
number three, I watch cat videos. I personally cannot think of a better use of anybody's time or consciousness. So it really just depends on how you're using them. And it's the same with the apps. I met my husband, Ryan, on, are you ready for it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tinder.
Really?
Tinder.
And that
Yes.
isn't that now, tell me if I'm wrong, isn't that one of those that you swipe right or swipe
Yes.
left, whatever it is?
It's a swiping app. He was my third date. I think he had been on it for quite some time. And our profiles were so thoughtful, so thoughtfully written that I think no one would ever dare to approach us with a hey or something cheeky. We are
Yeah.
really intellectual people who care about issues, and we put that at the forefront. Our None of our pictures were, I don't know, in a bikini eating an avocado sandwich or holding a fish. And we clicked right away. It's
Yeah.
really, again, about how we are bringing our consciousness to these apps. So
Yeah.
if it works for me, it can work for other people.
No, no.
And
And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
I'd like to mention just one last thing. I was already over 40. So,
Oh, okay. No, you
you
look
know,
amazing.
oh,
I wouldn't have never guessed that.
you're very kind. I'm now much more than
No, no,
that.
I definitely wouldn't have guessed that. Okay. And I get about the dating apps. Maybe it does work for the introvert or something like that. Like I said,
Yeah.
me and you are probably different. Maybe I don't know. Let's say we're 30% of the population. And I'm just throwing a number. I could be way off. Or I know we could be just 5% of the population where we like to go out and meet people and hang out. The only thing is, I think for me is with the dating apps is the catfishing,
Yes.
things like that. Or when I
Yes.
was on some dating sites, I would get a response or I would get a hit, whatever they call it. And then I look, I'm like, hey, she's cute. I definitely want to talk to her. And I respond back, and then I don't hear from them again. So it wasn't reliable,
Yes,
So
it's
if you
true.
reach
It's
it,
exhausting, of course.
yeah,
But again, there are ways to go around that. And one of the things that I like to say is not only should you have and this is the first tip is have a really, really well written, well defined profile that is super honest. Do not open with my favorite thing is avocado toast and kittens. That's absolute nonsense. talk about your obsession with Yuval Noah Harari's work, talk
Yeah.
about your obsession with feminism. The right person will be okay with you. The second thing that's really important is limit your time on these apps. Even if they are more aligned with your behavioral style, you must limit your time, because otherwise it's just like social media, right? It can
Yeah.
become
Addicting.
awful,
Yeah, yeah,
addicting,
yeah.
awful. Then the ghosting really starts to get to you, etc. You are the consumer here. It is not consuming you. If it is consuming you, it is not for you. If you're like, all right, I have 20 minutes today. Here's yes, here's no. Let's respond to this message. Let's not respond to this message. That's it. The third tip I want to give is get off the app as quickly as possible. What that means is from the moment someone has initiated a thoughtful conversation, not, hey, you, a thoughtful
I've seen
conversation.
that. I've seen that.
Of course, of
You know,
course.
I'll look at a woman's profile and then I see like 50 likes. So then I'll just let me see some of the comments because it's and we could use that as material. I hate to say it, but you're right. You look hot. I'm in love. Hey,
Ugh,
you. And I'm like, wow,
go away.
that's the best you got. Yeah. So go
It's
ahead, Kevin.
awful. So when you understand that, your job is to reply thoughtfully and not to let this drag on. I believe that anything more than six exchanges is way too much. Get off. They're dragging it. The most important component in the beginning of a romance is physical chemistry. Chemistry is physical, and we must get off the app and we must start to really see each other in live and in color, and that way you'll have a sifting process that's far faster.
I like that idea about definitely about the physical chemistry. But now, if you're on a social media app, all right, I don't want to use anyone in particular, but you're on a dating app, whatever, and it's just text. I'm one of those. No, let's get on the phone. But then some people, and I'm going by what some of my friends tell me, they don't want to give out their number, or they don't feel comfortable yet.
Don't.
It's too early.
Yeah,
So
don't.
how do you navigate through that
No.
if somebody wants to talk to someone? um
It was a hard no for me with the phone situation,
sure.
and for because of what I do. But I just say, let's meet here. if
Oh, okay, so
if
you
they, as
you
soon
rather
as they
meet.
ask me out
Gotcha.
on a date, and if they don't ask me out on a date within a couple of exchanges, I'm not interested anymore. I will stop responding.
Okay.
That's a clear boundary. That's a boundary of your time. They're wasting your time, so do not allow them to waste your time, and make sure that this exchange moves into an agreed upon location in public where you are not likely to get
Sure.
murdered,
Yeah.
and where the exchange is more natural. And
Yeah.
if you must give people some form of communication, they can DM you, they can text you with ways that are less invasive, if you will, and
Okay.
much more easy for you to handle if the date does not go well
Okay.
or
No,
is not
fair.
interesting.
Right. No, fair enough. Okay. So you came up with this program, Date with Enthusiasm. So how did that come about? Because that's always a topic I think that's important. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going on this date. I'm looking forward to it. She's great. She's this. I've talked to her. We got good chemistry, vice versa.
Yeah.
How did you create that? What was that drive that you say, hey, I could come up with something to help people out?
Well, like all coaches, like all good coaches, I solved my own problem, and then I figured out how to teach everybody else to do the same. And
Right.
the program has absolutely nothing to do with how to manage the dating process. That's silly. We'll give you a couple of tips for that, but the most important thing is how to get yourself into an alignment with yourself, a true, deep appreciation for yourself that becomes just a natural progression to love. When you love yourself and respect yourself, you respect your time, you have strong boundaries, you know what you deserve, and you attract what you deserve. The dating process will immediately become far more easy. And as a result of that, I created Date with Enthusiasm. Date with Enthusiasm is still not a program that I coach on personally. It is a side track that I bonus some of my clients, or that I allow you to buy on withenthusiasmcoaching.com/date as a virtual program. It's the only one that is just a virtual program,
Yeah.
but it's a 7-step straight shot to getting to that inner alignment, getting rid of the mind trash that is blocking you from finding true love, and that allows you to open up to true love. It is exactly the process that worked for me. It's the step by step. How did Keren get from cynical, I hate dating so much, everyone in New York is gay, to I'm marrying Ryan. How did I do it? Here's how. And by the way, I'd been burned so much before. I had been in dating purgatory. I also went through a really tough divorce. I already
Yeah.
attracted the wrong person and paid a very, very high price for that and many years for that. And in response to that, I created Date. Date starts with a very important premise. And this is the biggest one that will shake your world, William.
Yeah.
You
No, no.
ready?
Yeah. Go ahead. And
And
we're
this is the
talking
one
with
that,
Karen. We're talking with Karen Eldad. Today's topic. Sorry, Karen. Dating with enthusiasm. So yes, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to mess up your thought. I apologize.
no, not at all. The number one thought that really kind of changed things for me and that made me challenge all of the thoughts that were in my way was soulmates exist. There is such a thing. Now, this is such
Ah,
a woo woo term that made me think of my grandmother and her belief system. But today I know it. I know it to be true. There is a person who is exactly right for you, who is destined for you, and who is looking exactly for you. And if you understand that, then okay, I get it. There are billions of people on the planet, and not all of them are for you. And that may make for a little bit of a tough ride.
yeah.
However, one of them is, and it's so worth it to find them.
Right.
And when I started to really absorb this as a belief system and let myself wrap around it and let myself find case studies to affirm it, that starts the process. That reduces the cynicism, it softens you, it makes you more open, more ready to be vulnerable. And that allows you to go through the process until you seal the deal, which is why today I have a wall of love. I keep pictures. It's actually on the website of the happy couples because that makes me
Yeah.
really happy.
No, no. I definitely get it. The soulmate. It's funny because you know how you listen to other podcasts, and I think it's so much cynicism out there
Yeah.
about dating because, like you said, you go through a few bad breakups. You know, I went through one a few years ago,
Mm.
and I never put every woman in the same category. Never done
Mm.
that. Never said, oh, they're all the same. No. I definitely look back at what some of the mistakes I did, and I'm like, okay, now I know what I did wrong. Let me move forward.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't do that
No.
because, and I'm talking about men and women, they end up focusing on their last relationship,
Yes.
how bad it was, and then they can't get out of the way. And I think what you said, getting rid of was it the mind trash?
Yeah.
Very important.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit more about getting rid of the mind trash
Yes.
because once you're in that, everything you see on TV is trash. Everything, all the people out there are trash.
It confirms it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
confirms it. I want to tell you there are two kinds of mind trash. And the first is the first one that you just hit on, and that's releasing, not being able to release a
Yeah.
former hurt. That is, Nelson Mandela is credited with the quote, uh, that resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it kills your enemy. And that's sort of what a
Mm,
lot of people are doing after a breakup. They're just regurgitating it again and again and again. If I had made the decision that my ex husband and the way he treated me was the way men were, I would have absolutely not manifested a wonderful man who honors and respects and adores me. I also had a great role model at home. My father is a wonderful man, for
right.
example. And so I could not make that inference, but a lot of people will not let that go and they will say everybody is like that witch, and they're not. And so
Yeah.
you must release them. You must do literally a ceremony in your own head. I don't care how woo woo this is. I release you to your higher good. I am open to meeting people who completely negate this trash. Number two, the second kind of mind trash is limiting beliefs. Those are unfortunately, William, they're heavier to deal with. They're
Yeah.
big blind spots. Most of us are not awake to them. That's why coaching is so valuable because we can see them a mile away and say, you sure about that? And here's another way to see it. And you can choose to see it this way if you want to make progress. If you don't, you can continue to believe what you believe. I like to say, have another helping of your neurosis. I don't have a horse in this race. But if you
Right.
want love, if you want expansion, then you're going to have to at least consider the possibility that we're not crazy.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's essentially it. Mind trash is anything that limits you from the belief in your true, fulfilled potential. Any negated thought to me is garbage. When people said to me, you can't start a business and most businesses fail, or you can't start a business over 40, or you cannot get married after 40 without compromising. I said, hold my drink. And here we are. Here we
Right.
are.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. I love I love what you said about letting go of past relationships, letting go of that mind trash. Like I said, I did, and I'm not gonna lie, it did take a little while.
Yes.
Pretty
Oh, it
much,
took me years, William. It took me
yeah,
years.
yeah,
For at least 4 years coaching and thinking, and all of this I distilled into the process after having gone through trial and error, through a
yeah.
lot of stuff that didn't work, and finally finding stuff that did work.
No, it's always trial. I love it, trial and error. That and pretty much that's what life is about, right? Trial
That's
and
what
error.
dating is about. Yes.
And even more so, I'll say that. Anyway, first of all, Karen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. And before I let you go, just a couple more things. Talk about your podcast.
My podcast is called Coached with Coach Keren. The next, I only do one series a year. The
Okay.
next series is going to be about what keeps overachievers up at night, the secret thoughts of overachievers. And one of them, of course, is I will die alone and I'm terrible at this love stuff. And believe it or
Mhm.
not, I think that people who are overachievers are far more susceptible to this. They also have a lot more cynicism because they're more rational thinker.
Ah, okay.
The podcast will launch in the fourth quarter of 2023 in its next season. So I hope everybody tunes in.
You mean 2024? Did I
Yeah,
get
2024 Q4.
okay? Gotcha. And talk about your coaching. You do a lot of different coaching. If I was correct, but talk anything about the coaching
Yeah. So
space
there are
that you
three
do.
ways
Yeah,
to work with us. The first is one-on-one. That's elite coaching for people who are truly ready
yeah,
to get coached at this level. And all the details are on KarenEldad.com. The second is to have a virtual program, especially if people want to do date. That's the only way to do it. And that's with enthusiasmcoaching.com/date. And the last is joining masterminds and retreats. And masterminds and retreats are things that we do. We open once, maybe twice a year,
yeah.
and hopefully, if the group setting is something that's useful to you, you can join that.
Yeah, talk about more about the retreats. That I found that very interesting on your website when I was looking at it. So talk a little bit more about that.
Well, it's my favorite thing in the world because who does not like 3 days of intensive coaching in a completely sequestered setting where you can absolutely be in a different universe, right? Like the biggest problem I think for most of us is we're in such a rut.
Yeah.
You and I are speaking in January. The weather's bad too. We're in such a rut. We're so myopic. We're so obsessed with like the details of our lives and our businesses that we can't think outside. Retreats are designed to pull you away from that. Go to
Mhm.
Mexico, be with a completely new group of people for 4 days. Most people extend for several days,
Yeah.
and really allow yourself to immerse yourself in a completely new universe of material. It's transformative, and that's why I continue to do these. I love them so much. It's usually a dozen people, and we just have a ball.
No, that's great. And if somebody want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
The best way is go to KarenEldad.com, book a consultation. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. Well, first of all, Karen, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, William. What you're doing is really important. It's a joy.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye.